What is the hype around AMD lately? I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers saying that they are putting money into this stock. However, this stock has been down 14.84% in the past year, with Bank of America recently downgrading AMD's rating from buy to a neutral. What is the hype around this stock? In this video, we're going to be trying to find out exactly that. We're going to be putting their finances into my system to see an intrinsic value and whether or not this stock is overvalued currently or undervalued. As of recording this, it is the 20th of December. This video will be out a couple weeks later as I am away. So please do keep any information from this video with a pinch of salt because it might have changed by the time this has come out. This is just as of recording. Despite that, I'm hoping this is still going to be very relevant by the time it is released. So what are AMD? Who are they? What do they do? For the people that don't know, AMD is a multinational semiconductor company that designs, manufactures high-performance computing graphics cards and visualization technologies. Some of their key areas are processors, graphics cards, data center solutions, and custom solutions. With them having a large market, not monopoly at all, but they definitely have a large footing in CPUs for sure, which are their processors, as even this is being recorded using my Ryzen 7 chip, which is powered by AMD. Despite that, I did not choose to go for an AMD graphics card as their competitors, Nvidia, are much more developed in this section of the market, so they do have a lot of catching up to do in that regard. However, a lot of people are saying that this next year, 2025, is going to be their year, with Nvidia starting to slow down now. AMD has been on the decline for the last year, of course, and people are expecting this stock to bounce back. So could it be a big breakout stock? AMD's stock reflects its performance in the competitive semiconductor market. Investors often look at revenue and profitability trends, market share compared to Intel and Nvidia, Intel being the CPU competitor and Nvidia being the GPU competitor, demand for its chips in growing sectors like AI, gaming, which actually isn't growing anymore, and data centers, which are definitely growing, macro trends such as chip shortages and geopolitical issues in semiconductor supply chains, which could be influenced by Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company having issues with China or the likes of stuff like that. So there has definitely been a lot of hype around this stock. However, in the last year, it has dropped 14.84%, like I said at the start of the video. In the AI chip market, AMD faces stiff competition from Nvidia, which holds a dominant position, as analysts have expressed concerns for AMD's limited market share in AI GPUs, with projections suggesting it may remain around the 4% in 2025. Despite these challenges, AMD continues to innovate and expand its product offering under the leadership of CEO Lisa Su, who has been instrumental in the company's turnaround over the last decade. So what is the recent news surrounding AMD stock? Well, there is a workforce reduction. AMD have announced a global workforce reduction of 4%, affecting around 1,000 employees. This strategic move aims to relocate resources towards rapidly growing segments, especially AI chips and data center products. Despite strong third quarter sales, concerns about a potential slowdown in the fourth quarter have been noted, in which they did put on their outlook section in their Q3, which did have a very negative effect on the stock in the Q3 release date. A competitive position in AI chip markets. Nvidia currently leads the AI chip market, and AMD is striving to increase its market share. Analysts project that AMD's share may remain 4%, as I mentioned, indicating significant challenges ahead. So as far as I can see, there isn't anything to be excited about with this company at the moment. There is not a massive amount of hype apart from within the YouTube world, where everyone's saying they're buying in. Not everyone, of course. I've just seen a few people saying it, and I had to see what the hype was about. So now we're going to be looking at their financials and putting it into my system to see whether or not it is a buy or sell according to my system. So looking at the liquidity weight rate for AMD, here we have I've lost my train of thought now. The total debt to total cash on a liquidity scale, and we can see a ratio of 2 points at the moment. This is really good. That means that for every dollar of debt in which they owe, they have at least $1 of liquid cash to pay this back in, as in the world of business, cash is king. The trend lines are expecting this to be relatively stable, so nothing to worry about here. Now taking a look at the retention rate here, we can see how much money is retained within the company. For a company the size of AMD, I would kind of expect this to be a bit higher. With AMD being founded in 1969, an 11.3% retention rate is a bit crap, to be honest. I mean, it's good. It is profit at the end of the day, but a company as old, it should be well established, should be looking at least around the 15%. And I mean, this last quarter has been one of their best months for retention rates. Despite this, however, trend lines are actually projecting this to increase, but they in their Q3 statement said the opposite. So let's have a look at a free cash flow statement. This is relatively positive, as we can see it increasing quarter on quarter here as we go up, and the trend lines are actually predicting this to also increase, so that is actually quite positive. So now having a look at the 365-day exponential chart, we can see the decrease here and the trend line projecting this decrease to only increase. So we are massively below the trend line at the moment. So is there potential to actually catch back up to the trend line? Potentially, but I don't think so, especially with their Q4 outlook being so bad. I don't see why anyone would at the moment. Now, having a look at the shorter range, we can see here a 90-day projection, and again, we're very much on the trend line here. So we might meet back up to this trend line. However, it's still going to be heading down according to this, whilst volume is actually projected to increase. So that could indicate selling pressure. So we can see a PE ratio of 106.27, which is massive. A 52-week high of 227 and a low of 117, this being a difference of 109, and a current price of 119. We also see a beta rate of 1.66, which means on a volatility scale, it outperforms the Nasdaq 1.6 times, which in this case is not a positive thing, as the price has actually been decreasing on the year to date. Furthermore, we can also see the current volume is actually lower than the average volume, but this is just subjective to time when you do see this. The market currently has only been open for 10 minutes, so I don't know. Take with that what you will. I don't want to ramble on about that too long. This is where it gets a bit interesting. So here, using Graham's formula on an original and a revised formula, we can see whether or not it thinks it is a buy or sell, looking at the intrinsic value. Calculating this using the earnings per share, the projected growth rate, and a current AAA bond yield. On the left here, we can see an intrinsic value of $121. We're currently at 119, so potentially there could be a bit of buying pressure, but that isn't a big enough gap, and especially when we bring in a margin of safety of 75%, it puts the acceptable buy price at $90. So on the left here, we can see this is not looking positive. It only gets worse when we move on to the more bearish revised formula. On here, we can see an intrinsic value of $63, with the current buy price, of course, still being at 119. With a 75% margin of safety, we can see an acceptable buy price is $47.5. So really not ideal according to this system. However, I don't want to base everything off of one formula, so I will give you two using Peter Lynch's value here, using the growth rate, the dividend yield, which is at 0, and the PE ratio. We can calculate whether or not this is an overvalued stock, and it is currently overvalued by 0.5. So it's essentially saying that this is worth half of what the price is currently at, so it is extremely overvalued. So for me, I don't see why people are putting money into a position with AMD at the moment. But let's see what the actual analysts think, because I'm not an analyst. So the analysts are projecting a price projection of a high of around 170 and a low of around, let's say that's 50. Personally, I think we're going to stay on this trend line and go just above here around the 90 mark in the next 90 days. But that could be a bit too much. I don't know. It's hard to say actually with the Q4 coming out. It is obviously, the outlook has been set to be bad, so they might actually say it is better than it is. But in my opinion, that's where I see it going. When looking at the 2025 outlook, they've actually put this as a very bullish indicator, putting a projected price target at around $180 here, and they've actually indicated a buy. So maybe in 2025, this could definitely be a good stock. How late into 2025 should you leave it to buy? I don't know. This is according to the analysts. Personally, I do say I kind of agree with this, but I still think this stock is overvalued at the moment. But I also, well, every stock is currently overvalued. That is just the stock market at the moment. We are in a massive bull run and everything needs to come down at some point. In fact, as of recording this, it has started to come down. How long that will last for, I don't know. But it's, again, I feel like that's a bit too exaggerated. Maybe I don't see. I mean, the high end of this, I really think is kind of outrageous. But again, I actually haven't got a clue what the long-term plans for AMD are. So what actually is AMD's long-term plan? Well, it is for growth, focus on innovation, diversification, and strategic partnerships to strengthen its market position in key industries such as AI, data centers, gaming, which is a declining industry, as I mentioned at the start, and edge computing. But does that justify a huge price increase in 2025? I don't know, especially being the stock is currently it's currently double its intrinsic value according to the system. So I really don't know particularly what the future growth for this company is looking like. If you could let me know in the comments, it would be greatly appreciated. Strengthening data centers and cloud partnerships is a focus on increasing its potential into a cloud market. Its EPYC processors have gained traction with major cloud providers like AWS, Microsoft, and Google Cloud. Comparing its revenue to its competitors, it is not awful. However, it is in third place currently. It is, of course, beating Intel, which is pretty obvious, but Nvidia is just like massively ahead in many regards, as Nvidia can only serve 1 in 15 of the customers in which they currently have. Just due to manufacturing restrictions currently. So there's still room for growth in Nvidia. Some of that market is projected to go into AMD, as you can't just wait forever for what you need, and some people don't need the very best. They will settle for AMD graphics cards, for example, which are massively behind. But again, I just don't see there being massive potential in this stock personally. I could definitely be wrong, and I'm sure a lot of you will tell me in the comments. So what does the short term hold for AMD? If we look down the bottom here, if you can see that, we can see a Sharpe and Sortino ratio. This is obviously very short term and won't affect you by the time this video is out, but currently it is at minus 4.79%, which is really bearish. They are actually projecting a short term decline in this stock. And looking at the trend lines, we are well below all of them, but the 7-day moving average currently. So it's just not looking particularly great for this stock. I do, however, think we are going to meet back up with these trend lines in the near future. How near, I don't know. I think we actually might see a pattern very similar to this, where we are currently just at the bottom of this now. I do see a bit of growth, but I don't see that being very like mid-term. I think we're going to head down to here, around the $90 to $100 mark, potentially even further, and then we will see a bit of sideways action before seeing a bit more momentum with it behind the stock. But again, for me personally, I won't be buying into this, just purely because according to the system, its intrinsic value is currently half of what it actually is, especially with a margin of safety, and it just isn't worth it. But again, this has just all been my own personal opinion, and if you don't agree, you don't have to at all. You can let me know in the comments what I have missed around this stock. With that being said, that will be the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Hopefully by the time the next video is out, I have a better camera than this, because it is just a basic webcam. So if you could leave a like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you for the next video.